welcome. Welcome to Enough Conversations. It's another exciting Tuesday. I'm so excited. We're on this journey of enoughness. Yes, enoughness is the journey to discovering who we already are. And I'm super excited that we are going to have an amazing conversation. If you have not gotten the Enoughness book yet, make sure you get it, because we take you on the journey from feeling like you were never enough to knowing that you are enough already. And the exciting thing also is that we have the Enoughness book in Spanish. That's right, en español. And so you can go to Kindle right now and you can tell your Spanish speaking brothers and sisters that they are welcome to write and read in Spanish. I'm excited to have our special guest, the beautiful, the lovely, one and only Meagan Good. She is an entrepreneur. She is a beautiful actress. She is a model. She's a superstar. And we are so excited. And she is enough. Welcome to the party, Meagan. I'm so glad that you're joining us on this enough journey. You are enough, sweet diva. We love you.
Believe that.
And so we're glad that you're joining us today. So we've been talking about being enough in every situation of our lives. And each of us, no matter where we serve, no matter how big the stage, we all find ourselves in seasons, situations, circumstances where someone made us feel like we were not enough, or someone told us that we would never be enough. And so on the amazing stages that we've seen you on and that we've admired you on, and we admire the way you show up to life and show your light, tell us, how do you push through the not enoughs, the never enoughs that were told to you?
It's interesting because, it's like it's a theme that I've experienced obviously throughout my life, like all of us have. And for me, I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and so I was called a lot of words, and told by like teachers that I wouldn't be successful at what I wanted to do. And then after that, then getting into the business, you deal with a lot of rejection and people saying, yeah, you're just not right for the role, for whatever be the reason. And then you deal with stuff on the internet and so on and so on. And the thing for me that I always come back to is I had to find it in myself and between me and God, and say, you know what, Lord, you have made me perfectly imperfect. I'm exactly who you want me to be. And while I'm growing and I'm a work in progress, I'm going to let you develop me and you mold me, and you don't make any mistakes. So as long as God's hand is on me and I focus my energy on him, that's how I know that I'm enough. I'm enough because he says that I'm enough, regardless to what anybody else at any season has said to me or will say to me, or things that I've even thought about myself. Ultimately, I am because he is, And so that's what I try to live by and focus my energy on.
That is beautiful. But the amazing thing is that you started in this industry really early. I think I read that you did a commercial at 4.
Yeah. It's been a journey, girl. Talking about started from the bottom.
But that's amazing, because no one would look at you now and say, oh yeah, they have that child star thing on them, because sometimes people who were child stars have a stigma, but yet you do not carry that at all. What do you attribute that to?
Mainly my mother, and the relationship that she's encouraged, me to have with God. She always was very much, she's like, okay, I don't really do religion, but I do relationship with Christ. You figure that out for yourself and what you want that to be. And as I've figured it out along the way, I've realized it's not about me. you know, and it's about him, and it's about using what he's given me to glorify him and to help build his kingdom whatever way he sees fit. And so in knowing it's not about me, I have those moments where I check myself, you know, and throughout my life, you know, you're working, and then people want to do everything for you, and they're really nice to you, and you can get into places really easy and walk through the airport and, you know, bumped up in line, and then you don't have anything going on and people treat you completely different. And so being able to experience that off and on for 30 years plus just gave me a sense of reality, a dose of reality of like, you know what, you are allowed to do what you're doing by the grace of God. He has allowed this. He didn't have to bless this. He did, you know, and understanding that he is the reason for the season, not me, you know, and really having a perspective that understands that, you know, at the end of the day, the second you start believing your own hype is the second you've played yourself. And a lot of people unintentionally do that. And I think that's why, especially in this business, people turn to drugs and alcohol, and they deal with depression. And, you know, people deal with that period. But in this business, especially because they begin to buy into the idea of I am. And then when that thing goes down, they don't know what to do because their identity is wrapped up in what they do. And what you do is not who you are. It's just what you do. And God is letting you do it, you know? So just having that perspective. And you know, I just try to check myself daily. I might be in the airport and running a little bit late, and I'm like, let me see if I can find like my sister or brother and see if they'll help me get in front of the line. And then I check myself. I'm like, Meagan, have several seats and 2 naps. Relax. You wait in line like everybody else. Calm down. You know, and I just try to do that consistently because I think it's important.
That's amazing. So you lead this public life, and you're also very public with your faith. And
Yes.
so I know you said your mom said, you know, figure that out, what that relationship looks like for you.
Yeah.
Was that a decision? Like, I'm going to be public about my faith? Because some people are definitely faith filled and they are faithful, but they are undercover. So was that a decision to be so public with your faith?
No, I've just never been ashamed, and I didn't know that sometimes people think we should be, you know. And in the business, you know, I've always just been vocal about it and not like put it in someone else's face like you should believe what I believe. I respect what anybody wants to believe. This is just what I believe and who I am, and I don't need to overly say nothing about it. I need to just be and walk in it, and that's the example right there. But if you ask me, I'm going to tell you with all the joy in my heart because, you know, again, he's the reason for the season. He's the reason why I can do what I do. He gave me the talent to do it. And so why would I ever be ashamed of proclaiming his goodness in my life and what he's given me, what he gives me on a daily, the way that he loves me, the way that he adores me, you know? And so, yeah, I mean, and I've also found at times it's been unpopular with people, you know, but I think that, again, if you're not pushing something on someone and you're just being, then for the most part, anybody who has an issue with it, that's really their issue. It's got nothing to do with you. So,
That's great. So do you remember like a pivot point if you were to take us on your faith journey when you said, oh, this thing is real, real?
probably when I first got saved, I was 12 and I had these friends in school basically because I was like one of like 4 Black kids in the school. There was a lot of bullying and name calling, and I did pretty much for the most part hold my own. And if not, then my sister Lamaya, you did not want to mess with her. But there was some stuff there, and this girl had like, you know, said a joke and basically like called me a bat instead of an angel. And this other girl, her name was Elisa, she stuck up for me. And after that, she was kind of very much of a protector for me. So I would go to youth group, but I was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to youth group. That's what I'm supposed to do. And I remember that one night after we left youth group, her and her best friend and her best friend's older sister and another one of their friends and a 4-year-old that they were with, they got into a car accident. And they were all between the ages of like 14 to 16. One of them died immediately. Another
Oh,
one died 3 hours later. The little girl got, she basically, they had to pull the plug on her after about a week because she didn't have any brain activity.
oh my
And
goodness.
my friend Elisa survived, and her best friend Barbara, who was like, you know, most beautiful girl in school, just they were so popular. She got a significant amount of brain damage, and it changed her life. And I remember shortly after that, we went on, what is it called? Basically, we all went out to like the woods and like prayed and had time. And, you know, we were intense and stuff. And that night, we were sitting on this rock praying, and she just called out to Jesus and she got saved. And I thought, how do you go through all that and then turn to God? Like, wouldn't you be mad at him? Like, I was kind of confused.
Yeah.
But her example led me to Christ, because I was like, I want to know what she knows. I want to feel that instead of the either in a situation like this. And that was the beginning, you know, of my walk with God. And then, you know, I got rededicated when I was 19 after going through a rough season. And, you know, but it's like, there are all these kind of pivotal moments. I remember the first time that I was in a situation on set where someone, you know, basically it was this really big movie, and it was a lot of like great actors in it. I was so excited to get the part. And one of the lines was they were making fun of Jesus. And so I took the line out and I didn't say anything. I just didn't say it. And when it came time to shooting that scene, the director was like, oh, remember that line we were talking about, you know, Jesus with the loincloth, blah, blah. And I was like, um, I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, I'm very Christian and I just don't feel comfortable saying it. I don't think it's funny, and I'm not gonna say it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. No big deal. And I was like, whew, I was like nervous, but I had always been so vocal about, you know, if someone asked me to do something and it's against God, I'm not going to do it. And granted, I stuck to my word, but that was the first time I felt like the pressure of like, oh, this is what people are talking about. Because I wanted this thing so bad, but I had to make the decision. What do I want more? I want Jesus more. So, you know, it played out the right way, and I'm happy about that. But that was the first time I had felt like, oh man, now I get it, what people are talking about.
That's beautiful. Okay, so that was after you got a role. How does your faith inform your decisions on taking a role off
Right.
before? Like, do you have a list?
You know, the big thing for me was like nudity. I was like, what do I really feel about it? You know, and for me, I'm very comfortable with my body, and I didn't feel strongly about it. I just felt that many things were gratuitous, is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I just felt like it was too much. And so there was never an opportunity that came along that I felt that it was warranted or appropriate. So I just never did it. Now I'm at a place where I would never do it. But for me, the biggest thing was like, as long as it's not making fun of Jesus, God, as long as it's not something that's gratuitous, as long as like it's not demonic. And if it's demonic, then it has to be about Jesus winning, you know?
Yeah.
And just really ultimately it comes down to like, if I'm not sure about something, I just pray about it. And if I don't have a peace, then I won't do it. And there's been a lot of stuff I've walked away from that I really wanted to do, but I just didn't feel the peace in my heart. And I didn't feel like that's what God would have me to do. So I didn't.
Speaking of being very comfortable in your body,
Yes.
you are so fly. We
Thank
all
you.
admire you. I think you posted a bikini pic this week, maybe.
I did.
So how are you staying fit in the pandemic? Everybody else is posting about snacks, and you're like,
Girl.
check this out.
So, well, for one, I'm intermittent fasting,
Okay.
which means, you know, I basically try to only eat for 8 hours a day. So
Okay.
I'm not depriving myself of like, you know, we make like a strawberry cake like once every 2 weeks. The other day he just made like a Krispy Kreme bread pudding. So I'm still having the stuff I want to have, but I just try to eat within those 8 hours. And then after that, you don't eat for like 14 hours, but that's fine because like 7 of them I'm sleep, you know, and the other hours that I'm up, you know, either I'm working or I'm doing something to try to push my life ahead, you know, but I just try to basically make sure that I only eat within that time span so that my body can go into ketosis and basically naturally be burning fat throughout the day. So that's how I've been able to maintain.
Well, you look amazing. You inspire us all.
Thank
I
you.
know people are always asking beauty tips from you. So this week you had a little response to someone who said something. How do you
Yes.
decide when to respond? Because I know there are always people that are very generous with their commentary that has
Yeah.
not been requested.
Yes. All the time. You know, it's interesting because, you know, the skin debacle that I went through, It was back in October. And it was really traumatic for me. It was like very hard to deal with, you know, because the thought of like young girls seeing this and thinking that I didn't love myself or something was wrong with my brown skin. I mean, even thinking about it breaks my heart. And I would never want to set that example in front of kids. And, you know, this woman didn't tell me that, you know, she said, you know, I had some sun damage here, and I thought, no, I'm good. And I used some of her other products, and the products were great, you know? So I thought, oh, okay, well, you know, she knows what she's talking about. And when I used the product for my forehead, I noticed myself getting lighter, and I was very insecure about it, very uncomfortable with it. And I was just like, I don't know, you know, and she's like, no, it just has to lift first and then all your color will come back. And I'm like, yeah, but when? And she kept saying, and she kept saying, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And months down the line, I'm like, when is my color coming back? And when I went to go work on this show, and then, you know, I was like, listen, I need to fix this like right now. I do not want to be on TV and I look this color. So she gave me this serum. I was supposed to lay out in the sun with it for 15 minutes every other day. Of course, I laid out for 30 minutes the first day, burnt my entire face up. The serum was stuck to my face, and when I was washing it off, I couldn't get it off, and I had to scrub so hard that I had flesh all over my face. And and it was like, and then my face was scarred up, and then it was no way to, like, it took months to get it back even and to fix it. And then, you know, after I was like, no, I'm not going to that lady ever again. And I had to go see my dermatologist, Dr. Pearl Grimes, who started helping me get my color back. And I'm still like, you know, 20% from where I want to be, but it's a massive difference. So yeah, the other day I was kind of debating. I was like, do I address this or do I not address this? And initially I didn't address it because I still looked crazy. And you can't defend yourself when you're looking at yourself and you're like, yeah, I know what I'm saying, but I know y'all don't believe me. And then ultimately, you know, I realized that not a lot of people had noticed, but then there were a lot of people who did. And I was like, do I address this or do I not address this? I'm out of the woods now. Let me just move on with my life. But that particular day, it kind of just like got under my skin, you know, and I think I'm still getting past the trauma of that experience, but it's hard for me not to defend myself. But in the same breath, and as I was going through it, I remember saying, okay, Dad, I see what you're doing here. My prayer for the past couple years, especially since me and Devon got married, and, you know, I came under fire a lot with like a lot of church folks, and that stuff was just so painful that I was like, help me not to take this so personally. Help me to pray for the person that throws the rock. Help me to not internalize this so much. Free me from like just caring so much what people think. So as I'm sitting here going through the skin thing, I was like, I see what you're doing here, Lord. And it was like I almost had to thank him for what I was experiencing, because I couldn't defend myself. There was nothing I could do but accept that that's what people thought, and I had to be okay with that. And that actually brought a lot of growth in me to say, okay, you know, sometimes you just can't control what people are going to say. You can't defend yourself every time, and sometimes you just have to be okay with it. So I'm still a work in progress in that sense, but that experience brought me leaps and bounds, you know, of where I was before. So I'm just like, you know, I thank you, Daddy, even for the mess. And I thank you for even the stuff that hurts, because of the growth that is produced in me. And yeah, you know, I just got to trust that everything that happens bad, he will turn around for my good. So.
Wow, I admire the way you responded, because to decide to respond is one thing, but the way you did it was so classy, and it still did not take away from you being such a faith representative. I often talk about, as you mentioned, our sisters and brothers in Christ in church that can sometimes be a little more critical than they're called to be.
Yes.
To make sure we're not the house of misrepresentatives. We are supposed to represent Christ even in the way that we care and talk about each other. And so as we talk about when you got married, you have an anniversary coming up next month.
I know, it's going to be 8 years.
8.
I know. It's
Congratulations.
So thank you.
How have these last 8 years changed everything in in your flow, in your faith journey, in your
Yeah.
career?
Man, I mean, I love being married, you know. I love being married to him. And I don't know, marriage has just enriched my life so much and helped me grow so much and really holds up the mirror and like that accountability and that we have to each other and partnership that we have to each other. It's just been amazing, you know. Um, it's kind of been like an epic journey. Sometimes it feels like it's been 2 years. Sometimes it feels like it's been 30 years, you know. But I love doing life with him. And the biggest thing I think, you know, was that his love brought a lot of healing for me. And it's nice to feel that you have someone on your team, a protector on your team that is different. Like, you know, my sister is a protector of me, and my mother is obviously, my cousin Dijon is, you know, but it's just different, and it's really amazing and awesome. So, yeah.
So, in the genesis of the relationship,
Yes.
did you feel like, I think this right here is about to be bookable? This feels like a New York Times bestseller in the making.
No, I didn't even think that. You know, I had never written a book, and I always thought that maybe one day I would, and I think that there is another story that I have to tell about my experience ultimately, and I will get to that. But we didn't plan on writing a book. It was really just, you know, I was open about saying, you know, I'm being celibate right now. And then when people found out that he had been celibate for 10 years, and that was like, what, a man celibate for 10 years? And then, you know, us being celibate together and, you know, what that implies on your wedding night and all that stuff. I think people were interested, but I also think a lot of Christians were like, oh, they really did that, you know, which is a standard that we hold ourselves to, but we often don't do, you know? And so, and I know I would back and forth when I was younger, you know, I had my first little boyfriend. I was like, I'm going to wait till I get married. Okay, this is the one that I'm going to marry. Therefore, he is my husband. Okay, no, he's not. Then you're like praying and repenting and crying. And then like, you know, not doing it for a few months and you're doing it again. You're praying and repenting and crying. It's just too much. So when I made the decision to really be celibate, and then God brought me a man who would do it with me and was already doing it. I think that the reason that we ended up writing the book is because people were just curious about how, you know, how did we do it? And we wanted it to be not preachy and not like everyone should do this, but like, here's our story. And like, we're not perfect and we've been through things and, you know, we have certain issues and she felt certain ways and I felt certain ways, but you know, this is where we are and this is how we did it. So.
That's awesome. Last February 2019, we had the privilege of having your husband at Fellowship Baptist Church where we were serving, and my husband was hosting Chicago Ideas Week, and he talked about a less than perfect example that he saw growing up. And so I don't know what you saw growing up as far as marital examples. How do you create this new narrative when you saw imperfection growing up?
You know, it's interesting because, you know, my mom, she was married 3 times. And my dad was the second one, my sister and I's father. And I didn't see, you know, perfect marriage. I was too young for their marriage. They were together until I was 4, and then they separated. And then, you know, with my stepdad, that marriage just, you know, wasn't great either. And so I think what it told me as a kid, you know, and it's like when I was a kid, I really like looked up to like Holly Berry. I was like, oh, she's the one, you know. And then I would look at the issues that she was having with men as well. And the story that I told myself was like, you can't trust them, you know, no matter, it doesn't matter how beautiful, talented, what you're bringing to the table, you cannot trust them. At some point, they're going to break your heart and you're going to be picking up the pieces. And so I approached every relationship with preserving enough of myself that I could be in a relationship for 4 years and we'd break up and I wasn't really crying. I was like, oh, well, thanks, Dad. That was a good chapter. I learned a lot, you know, taught him a lot. You know, I got some good and bad. I'm thankful for the chapter. It was awesome. What's next? You know, and that was like, you know, I was like that. And so going into marriage, I still was very protective over my space because when I finally did make the decision to try to do it differently and really give my heart, I ended up getting my heart broken in that situation. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like cheating or anything like that. It's just, there was a lot of emotional and verbal abuse between the two of us. So when I went into marriage, it's like I had all these walls up and I just wanted to protect myself. And it took, you know, like 2 good years to really break those walls down, you know.
And
And
this is after I do.
yeah, yeah. And I didn't realize there was so much there, you know. There's other stuff we worked on in like pre-engagement counseling and then like engagement counseling and then after we got married, you know. But and even now sometimes I find stuff in myself that I'm like, oh, that's trauma from this or that, you know, and I'm able to put it in perspective and move and deal from there. But yeah, in marriage, I think the biggest thing for us is just like really communicating like rawly and very just honest about how we feel, right or wrong. That's how we feel, you know, and how we work through things together. And then just like unconditional love and understanding that a lot of people go into marriage with the mindset of like, as long as I'm happy, then we cool. As soon as I'm not happy, then I'm out of here. And if you do that, you're gonna be married to someone every 3 to 5 years, you know. And understanding like the commitment is not just about how you feeling. It's about the commitment that you're making to God and the person that God has sent you to be on this journey with you, to hold you accountable, to hold up that mirror, to help you be the best version of yourself, to help you reach your full potential, to be your helper, and vice versa. I think as I changed my thought of what marriage was based on what I saw, and got to a place of understanding the partnership and the responsibility and what I'm saying to God when I, you know, go into matrimony with this person and all those things, it just changed my mind about what marriage is, period. And then on top of that, you know, it's turned out pretty well. We love each other, we get along, he's my best friend, and like I said, I love doing life with him. So
I love it. Shout out to the husbands.
yeah, to the booze.
Hey, Charles Jenkins, our husbands coordinated us connecting tonight, so we
Yeah.
love y'all. Okay, so what title do we say for your husband? Pastor Devon, Minister Devon?
No. What do we say? I mean, a lot of people call him pastor, and I'm like, no, he is not a pastor. I'm not a first lady. That's probably my own stuff. Um, he is a minister.
We can work on that together.
Yes. So he is a minister. He is a motivational speaker. He is a preacher. But you know, the difference is like pastor, as you know, they have their own church where that is their job. That is what they do, you know, and that's not his job. His job is he is a film producer. That's what he does. That's how he brings money in home, you know, but he is a preacher. And so the thing about him is I guess it just depends on, you know, what you want to call him, because I think what he is something that I haven't quite seen before. And I keep telling him, I'm like, you don't have to put a label on it. You're so many different things and you can move so many different ways based on what God's telling you to do, that I don't know if you need a label or if you have to figure one out. You can just be, and you are something that's never been done before. And what a blessing that is, you know? So.
Yeah, you answered my next question. I was going to ask you, did you consider yourself a first lady?
Yes and no. Part of me says no because I think there's a little bit of rebelliousness in me that I think people tend to put you in a box when they give you a specific label, and it's like you're supposed to be this. This is what it looks like. This is who you are, and I don't feel that I fit into a box. I honestly don't feel anybody fits into a box, one box. But we do have a Bible study that we do, and they do call me First Lady there. And I think that if I can redefine what that means, or at least redefine what it means for me, then you know, if that's what God has for me, then yes, absolutely 100%, you know. But I think for me, it has to be not within the confines of who you think I should be, but rather who God has created me to be, you know.
Well, we welcome you to reinvent that role and what it looks like. And I love your First Lady clothes. Can we talk about it? Last week we had Erica Campbell. We discussed the white dress that made Inside Edition.
Oh my gosh.
So we have to talk about the viral nature of this dress. Because at this point, were you the preacher's wife?
That was my first year of marriage, first or second year
Yes.
of marriage.
I love it.
Um, Girl, I wasn't ready. I was totally oblivious to the storm that was about to be before me. Um, and it's so crazy because I was like working on Think Like a Man too in Vegas, and I was like exhausted because we were working all hours of the night. I flew home for one day, picked a dress, went back to Vegas, finished filming, came back, got ready for the awards that day, and went. And initially I was presenting like some type of award for like best rap something with like Nick Cannon or something, or no, like with Bow Wow or something. And in the 11th hour, they switched it to a gospel award. I still didn't think anything. And when I went out on stage and, I gave the award, blah, blah, me and Lala, still didn't think anything. And then I get to my seat and I see that I'm trending on Twitter, and people are like, I mean, there was a lot of people dragging me. And I'm like, okay, and that was my first kind of like taste of all that stuff. And I wasn't ready. And honestly, I was like kind of heartbroken at first because I was like, but y'all supposed to be my safe place. Like from this industry and all this other stuff in the world, y'all supposed to be my safe place. And it's okay if you disagree or if you feel that I did something wrong, or even if it bothers you that I have a difference of opinion. Um, but don't abuse me. Don't attack me. Don't do it that way. If you want to correct me in love. If you want to correct me, maybe ask God if he's asking you to correct me first. And maybe it's just a prayer for me. Um, and I just don't think that there was a lot of like wisdom or love in how a lot of people approached me. It was like a full on assault. And for the next couple years, that's how I felt. It was like any situation. I never stopped doing what I was going to do and who I was going to be, but I would, literally thinking to myself, like, all right, I'm going out to the firing squad because I know people are going to have a reaction to this, but I can't let them control me. I can't let them tell me who I'm supposed to be. So I'm going to do it anyways. However, I hate that I feel like I'm like going out to the fire squad by my own people every time. And so that was tough for the first couple of years, really trying to figure out how to navigate that and not be angry, and to love more and deeper, and to understand that when you love people when they're mean to you, that's the task. Because to love them when they're lovable, well, anybody can do that. But to love them regardless to however they treat you, and also to have enough maturity to say, like, not everyone's trying to be mean. Some people are trying to protect you. Some people really feel that you're doing the wrong thing, and they maybe the way they're saying it isn't great, but it's not always out of just being mean or nasty. Sometimes it is out of love. And granted, it's the kind of love that your mother gives you. It doesn't mean that she's always right, but she does love you. So just having the maturity to really navigate what's what, and to stop taking it so personally, and just love people even more, allow it to build my character and build the quality of the human being that I want to be. And that's really what it's done. So even that, I'm like, I thank you, Dad. Thank you for all of it. So
And the thing about it was, your husband was happy with it, right?
yes, and that's why I wore it. The crazy thing is it was like I just turned 30. And I was excited. I was like, when I first found out, like when I first processed that I was about to be 30, for like 2 seconds, I was like, oh my God, now I get old and die. And like, that's like my thought process. And then I was like, no, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to make this season the best season of my life, just like I've made that decision every other season. I'm going to have joy. I'm going to feel good about myself as a woman. So like part of that dress was like, yes, 30 and fabulous in front of my husband. Come on, babe. Like that was the energy that was going into it. So it wasn't like, hey, everybody, look at me. It was like, no, I'm embracing this season of like womanhood and who I am growing into. And my husband's by my side. And I look good for 30. I feel good. Like I feel good. So anyway,
You
that's what happened.
exude enoughness, which is why we're so happy that you are talking to us tonight. I want to talk about you being a style innovator. So not only, are we admiring you, but the amount of emulation that's going on in our culture of whatever you do has to be amazing to watch. So tell us about the goddess locks.
Oh man, it's so crazy because I wanted locks, but I had seen locks on like two other people, And I thought they were really pretty, but I was like, I don't want them to look like that. I want them to look like something else, very specific. And then I saw a picture of Lisa Bonet and I thought, yeah, this is what I'm looking for. And basically me and my stylist, Maisha, like, we're trying to figure out who could do them. And then she found Dr. Karen. She's like, she's going to be perfect. And then I told Dr. Karen what I wanted. And she was like, I don't think you can do them like that. And I'm like, no, I feel like we can. She's like, you know what? She's like, I haven't seen them like that. I haven't done them like that. Let me pray about it. I'll get back to you. So a week later, she calls me and she's like, God gave me a vision for how to do it. And I was like, really? She's like, yes, I just did it on my mannequin. So I'm believing God that it's going to work and that it's going to hold together when we do it. So then she did it the very first time. And it was a lot of amazing feedback, and people loved him. And then, Tyra Banks reached out, and Khalees, and Willow Smith, and Eva Marcel, and I think she just did Holly Berry's for a movie she's getting ready to do, and like Rutina West, like all these people just really like blew up, and it's cool because I love the natural hair, and like I love just like for me the freedom that it brings to just kind of like move the way I want to. And yeah, it's just very cool. It's very cool that people liked it and started doing it. So
I love it. I know I got some goddess locks immediately. I love it. So beautiful. And what a vision. And then you're not only an innovator, you are an inventor. So I see there's a head wrap.
Yes, this one isn't mine actually.
Okay.
This one's the Wrap Life, which I love them. They're amazing.
Yes. But on your Instagram, are there good girl wraps?
They're good girl wraps. Yes. Yeah.
Is that something you and your sister are doing together?
No, well, we will do a bunch of things underneath that umbrella because technically we'll always be good girls, but we have different things, under that we both are passionate about. So for me, with the wraps, what started was the goddess locks. It was like, how do I wrap these at night? Like, how can I sleep comfortably? And then also working out, you're jumping around, your hair's flipping in your face. And I was like, how do I, one, get to sleep comfortably with these, two, work out comfortably with these, three, like even just wrangle my hair when I'm like trying to wash my face, and so when I figured out that pattern and I started wearing it for myself, and people started asking about it and saying, well, where can I get one? Because I have dreads, or I have twists, or I have braids, or I have curly hair, whatever. And so I was like, maybe I'll just create some. And so I started the line and did a few pieces, and it went really well. So then we mass did them and they sold out, which is crazy. So
yeah. I love it. Okay, so you've been very public and shared with us your faith journey, your relationship journey, the hair journey, the skin journey. Someone's asking about the brow journey. They love your brows, and I know you have a testimony about that.
I do. So I'm an 80s baby, and by the 90s, eyebrows had become very, very thin and plucked. That was the look. I took it to the limit and pluck until there was like nothing, basically. It's like a very, very thin line. And then they wouldn't grow back. And so by the time I was like, 19, 20, I mean, my eyebrows just wouldn't do anything. And so when I was about 25, I got them tattooed. Because it was taking me like an hour to do my brows a day to get the symmetry right, because I was starting from scratch. It was like drawing on a piece of paper every day. And so I got the tattoos so I could have the outline there, and my process would be cut down a bit. And then, of course, over time, you draw those strokes in, the strokes begin to spread, as all tattoos do. And as it spreads, they begin to touch each other, and it becomes a block where there's no detail. So that's what happened with my brows. So then at about 30, I think I started microblading. And that was nice too, but I really wanted real hair. And what I saw was like, I was on Amber Rose's page, and I saw that she had got a brow transplant. So I researched the guy, looked at all his stuff, went into the consultation, and I was like, listen, I want just like fuller brows. How do you do it? And he was just like, well, basically, we could take it out hair by hair in the back, or we can cut like a very small strip of your hair, sew it up, and take that hair and harvest it and put it in your brows. So of course we tried to do the hair by hair first, but because my hair is curly, it wasn't working. So we had to cut the little strip and, basically harvest it from there, and did it. And then I loved it. And about 9 months later, I went back and did it again because I was like, make them even fuller, you know? And one of the best things I've ever done. It's like, you know, sometimes I would wear a little bit of makeup because my eyebrows would be so harsh that I'd have to balance it with makeup. Otherwise, I would look super like, I don't know, tired in the face with harsh brows. So I had to even it out. So now I don't have to do that. You know, it's like with real hair, I don't have to color them. I don't have to wear makeup. I don't have to do anything. I just have to get up and go and put on that Vaseline. So, so it's nice. You know, it's definitely one of the best things I've done, and it wasn't painful at all. Even the back part, no pain. It was awesome.
I love it. Yeah, someone
Yeah.
just asked, did it hurt? Okay,
No.
so there's a misnomer that in all horror films or scary movies that people of color don't live long.
Yep.
However, is it true that you are the most cast person of color in horror films that lives? Have you heard this?
Possible. I've never ever considered that thought, but when I think about it, One Missed Call, Venom, Saw, Unborn. I feel like I'm missing something, but that's at least four there. So that's possible.
You're record breaking in the horror film department.
Thank you. I
Was that by
love horror
intention?
movies. I just love scary movies, you know, and really, you know, as a kid, you know, being a little actor who was like, oh, I'm just doing this as a hobby, you know. I remember being 10 and seeing, you know, Halloween 4. And the little girl who played his niece was my age. And she was such a brilliant little actress. And I just became like, wow, this kid is so good. And then she was in Halloween 5 the next year, and she was so good. And I just thought, like, the type of acting you get to do in scary movies, it's not like what you do in other movies. The every single emotion is completely heightened because you're dealing with the biggest thing you could possibly deal with, which is life or death. And so what you're able to do as an actor is just so much fun to push yourself in that way and to figure out like where would you be emotionally at this time. And I just loved what I could do in horror movies. So I love watching them, and I love being in them. And I like all my, it's so weird. I had like the daydreaming of like, oh, I just want to be like stabbed in the stomach and like crawling up the staircase and like screaming and the guy's coming for me. And then like my leg doesn't work. And like, I don't know, you know, child actor weird stuff, but I love it. So yeah, I love scary movies.
We have a thing during this quarantine time that people only watch scary movies in the daylight. So we're like, is this a daytime movie? It was like, yes, this is a daytime movie.
I get it though. You're like, tell me what I'm looking at.
But I'm like, I can watch it if it's on mute. It's not so scary on mute.
Right. Because that music is what gets you.
Yes. I'm like, oh no, yeah, somebody's saying they loved you in The Intruder. Does that count as a scary movie?
Oh yeah. Well, I think it's more of a thriller,
Yeah.
but I think it does count as a scary movie because people definitely were scared. So yeah.
You are in so many of our cultural iconic movies. Roll Bounce, Think Like a Man, You Got Served. Somebody said, Stomp the Yard. And so in Stomp the Yard, I read that you've been knowing Columbus Short since you were 10.
Mm-hmm. Forever.
And so how was that being a love interest of somebody you've been knowing for so long?
You know, it's like when you're doing those love scenes and like, not even love scenes, because I had like my first real love scene was kind of The Intruder, and even that's like very toned down. But when you have to kiss someone on camera, whatever, it's like you're not really thinking of them that way. You know, you're in the scene, you're in the character. Most of the time it's awkward. You know, we're trying to figure out where to place this, that, and the camera, and there's a million people in the room, and you're not really thinking about any of the other stuff. But just in terms of like regular scenes that aren't necessarily intimate and you just like playing love interest, it's like, you know, you're not yourself, you're whoever this character is, and likewise, you know. And so I mean, sure, it would be different if it was like my brother or something. I don't think I could get past that, you know, but That would be crazy, and I would never do it anyways. But with Columbus, it just, you know, it was like we were living the characters and we were in it. So
Some people want to shout you out that they love Eve's by You. That's
thank
classic.
you.
And of course, Jump in the Broom. I think we know that movie by heart. Like we
Really?
But
So crazy. So crazy.
that's so cool. My husband and I, we got to be on the set of Think Like a Man a couple of days. My husband and Will Packer went to high school together. So
Aww.
good friends, and there some things brewing.
Yeah.
So super cool. Okay, so you have this public life, public faith. What's next? You got any tea for us? What's coming up next?
Well, we trying to figure out when we gonna pop these babies out. There's that.
Of course, that was a question down here, but I wasn't gonna ask it.
No, and I appreciate that, but I will divulge. We're just trying to figure out the timing. You know, it's like we wanted to start earlier in the year, and then I got this TV show, and then, you know, I was about 3 episodes in, and then we shut down production because of COVID, and, you know, I was thinking, well, maybe just after that, and then, you know, there's a chance that Shazam 2 could go right after that. So it's like, you know, I've kind of had to stop trying to plan and just say, you know what, Dad, like, you tell me when, and you make it happen, and I will do everything that I am supposed to do to meet you halfway, and then you know the perfect timing, because I don't know, and there's too many variables that I can't control. I just know that, you know, we're ready, and yeah, and it's like, you know, family comes before career, but I also can't bust out and get pregnant in the middle of shooting right now when I just got, you know, when you come onto a job and you're making a commitment, it's like, at least get that first season out, and then you want to get pregnant second season, everybody will work around it, it'll be fine, you know. But it's weird because it's like, I in my mind I thought I had a plan, and now I'm like, I just don't know, I'm just gonna have to let Dad do it. So
I love that. My husband and I were married 5 years before we started having kids, and I used to hate when people were asking me that. So I did not ask you that.
I don't mind, like, I don't mind talking about it, but I think the only time I get a little, you know, someone was just like, so what are you guys expecting? I was like, we ain't expecting nothing but Jesus. So we ain't expecting nothing but the second coming. But you know, it does, if I feel like there's like an opinion or like a judgment attached to it, then I'm like, but if I don't feel that, then I'm like totally open to talking about it. And it's just like, you know, we shall see.
I love it. In my book, Enoughness, I talk about doing a sound check, making sure everybody in your life is echoing God's truth about you, and muting everyone that could be saying anything that's echoing the devil's lies about you. So who's your circle of truth tellers? Is it a big circle, small circle, family circle?
I mean, the people that I trust to love me the way that I want to be loved and to communicate with me. There's a lot of people in my life that love me and that are good to me and that are good friends to me. But I think, you know, my sister, she will tell me the truth and she will keep it all the way real with me. And, you know, my best friend, Amy, she will keep it all the way real with me. She has a way, she's a little more kinder than my sister is. But still honest. And then my cousin Dijon, you know, and it's like my mother too, but it's different because when someone understands you a certain kind of way at your level, you know, my mom is always gonna be my mom, you know, but my cousin, my best friend, my sister, we're at each other's level. We've seen the ins and outs of everything, you know, behind closed doors, the things that you've been through, you know, whatever. And they know how to communicate with me. And also, like, you know, I mean, but then again, there's more, like my little cousin baby, you know, it's like she's really a sounding board for me and a very fierce protector. And so yeah, there's a few people in there. I feel grateful that there's more than one. So
I love that. What's the dream role coming up? dream role if you're creating this dream role?
You know, I don't know. I mean, I definitely want to do more action. You know, we had Foxy Brown going for a minute there, and then, you know, the ball kind of got dropped a bit. So now it's not going, but it's that kind of thing. I really want to do something that's like artistic activism where the character is like for us, you know, and she's doing things that is kind of like wish fulfillment for us, you know, and holding the police accountable and holding the president accountable and, you know, in the community and making a difference with, you know, the vigilante and the work that she does and like something that's like wish fulfillment for me as an actor, but I can be physical, but I can also be, you know, for the people. So.
I love it. We've talked about you in front of the camera, but I also want to applaud you that you have an entire career behind it as well. Can you tell us about your directorial exploits?
Yes, I'm putting my little charger on. I'm like, don't let this phone out, go
Okay,
off.
I know this is probably our last question.
No, that's okay. I came in a little bit low, but that's why I had to charge it right here because I was ready. Um, Directing. Okay, so I directed my first movie. I co-directed it with my friend Tamara Bass, who wrote it, and it really started because you know she had a great career, and then she went through a rough patch, and then she moved to New York, and then she, you know, had been writing, but she finally let me read something of hers, and I thought, oh, this project is great, and so we spent many years trying to get that one done, and then we switched gears and went to this one, and then we had Tanya Hamilton directing it, who kind of fell out in the 11th hour, and then we thought, you know, well, we'll just direct it ourselves. And so it was basically two women who, you know, we produced it ourselves. We did everything on our own. We made all the decisions. We handled the money. Everything was just the two of us. And I'm super, super proud of it and super proud of how it came out. And, you know, we also directed ourselves in it. And yeah, now we've got a few offers on the table and getting ready to sell it so we can get it out to the world. And you know, and it's really the movie for me was very much a callback to like the Waiting to Exhales and like, you know, Women of Brewster Place, the movies that we had growing up that our young Black women don't really have in this day and age unless it's a comedy. And I wanted to get back to like the drama of like storytelling and sisterhood and those serious kind of topics and situations that we go through, you know, not being able to have kids or, you know, having gone through trauma or abuse or not being supported by your man or, you know, addiction or whatever it may be, having kids, you know, at like age 15, 16, you know, stuff like that. And so that's what the story really explores a bit of all that, you know, or, you know, being a mom and being so afraid that you're not sure you want to be, you know, just things that I think that we don't talk about enough and we should. And so this movie really explores that.
I love it. And you've directed some music videos as well?
Yeah. I'm releasing another one tomorrow that's unreleased. And I'm really excited about it because my friend, you know, she just lost her father. She's been kind of going through a really rough season. But when we did this video, she had just became sober. And it really was about the fight, you know, inside of her, who she wants to be and portrayed herself to be and is in some ways, but also, you know, who she really was inside and what she's really feeling and what she's really going through and the fear that's associated with it and all that stuff. And so we really kind of made this song and video an artistic expression of what she was going through in that season. And we hadn't released it and didn't know when we were going to. And then we just thought, you know, let's just release it now, you know? So this is the third video that I've ever shot. And it's cool because I, you know, get to share it with people for the first time.
That is great.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing that release tomorrow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I am so grateful for you in this time. Someone wanted to ask, what's the secret? You are not aging at all.
Thank you. Jesus. That is the secret. I have no idea, you know. I have no idea, but it's the skin that he gave mom and dad and just him just preserving and yeah, and I think it's all part of, you know, how you're being used. I think, you know, for me, I want to make sure I stay like relevant with the kids so that I'm able to be used to pour into them. So if he's preserving me a little bit for that, then I'm like, I receive it, you know, whatever it may be. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm a year away from 40, and I'm really liking myself in this season, every part of me. So
Beautiful. You have blessed us. Do you mind praying for the people that are watching that are inspired by you? You are showing us how to be enough in so many roles as
thank you.
a person of faith, as an actress, as a director, as an innovator, as an inventor. And so we so admire you, and we just thank God for you. And we would love to be blessed by you praying us out this time.
Would love to. Um, Thank you, Father, in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you for allowing us to be alive today. Thank you for giving us breath in our lungs. Thank you for allowing us to wake up, to think, to be present with you, to have this life, to follow what you've designed us to follow, Lord. I thank you just for your grace and for your mercy and for your love, Lord. And I just pray, Father, that each and every one of my sisters and brothers that are on here right now, that they would know that you have made them perfectly imperfect, and that there is nobody in the world like them, and nobody that can do what they can do the way that they can do it. And I pray that when they look in the mirror, when they think of themselves, when they pray, when they speak life over themselves, that they would know that they are more than enough, because you say that they are enough, Lord. And I pray that they would be aware of how you see them versus how they see themselves, Lord. And I pray that the people that are in their lives would see them as close to how you see them as humanly possible, Lord. And I just pray that if there's anybody in their life that's not speaking life over them, that's not loving them the way they deserve to be loved, and not telling them who you say they are, Lord, I pray that you would remove those people in a peaceful and positive way, Lord. And I pray that you would continue to help the relationships of people who do know who they're called to be, and people who can speak life over them, and people who can pour into them, and people who can love them and help them continue to grow and to be nurtured, Lord. I pray that those people would step to the forefront and be the pillars in their life, Lord. And I just pray that each and every one of us would look inside self and know that we are worthy of greatness. And it doesn't matter what we've done, what's been done to us, where we've been, Lord, that you say that we are worthy, and you say that we deserve greatness. And I just thank you for your grace, and for loving us, and for each and every plan that you have for each and every one of us. We love you, Father. We give you all praise and glory, and thank you for allowing us to be in relationship with you. And thank you for the lives that you've given us. And please help us to continue to grow closer to you, Lord, and continue to be in tune with you and hear your voice clearly, Father. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. And quickly, we praise God and thank God for you, Meagan. We thank God for everything that God will allow you to do, that He will set your hand to do. And we just ask for special grace and covering for every endeavor that you have in front of you. We thank God for the relational example you are, and for family example you are, for your marriage, for your kids that are to come. And we just thank God for the career that is going to exceed your own expectations. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much for being a part of this Enough conversation. Virtual hugs.
Virtual hugs.
Have a great one. Everybody, join us next Tuesday night for more Enough conversations. Thank you, Meagan. We love you.
Okay, I'm trying to figure it out. Okay, there we go.